Hey guys, Owen here with Seek Outside. Today I want to show you how to set up the Redcliff 2.0. For this setup, you're going to need your supplied stakes as well as the supplied carbon fiber pole. With the Redcliff out of the bag, go ahead and find your zipper. On the Redcliff Lite, you'll have one zipper. On the Redcliff Standard, you're going to have two. Follow that all the way down until you find these stake points. Now from here, you're going to want to go over one seam and then two seams, and this is the guy we're going to stake out. So this second seam is going to be your corner. What we're making is a rectangle, so this is going to be the area that you'll be sleeping in the shelter, so set it up accordingly to where you want to camp. So we're just going to drive this stake in. As always, we might recommend driving these stakes in at a 45-degree angle. That's going to be best for keeping your shelter low to the ground and strong in winds. From this corner, continue along the seam. You're going to find there's one and then two. This is going to be your other corner here. This will be the short side of your rectangle. So pull this tight and then let it kind of fall back to where it wants to go and drive your stake in here. Once you have the side of your short rectangle staked out with those two stake points, we're going to go back to our zipper door. From here, we're going to do the exact same thing except the opposite way. So I'm going to find seam one and then seam two. Now this is going to be one of my other corners of this rectangle. This is on our long side here. I'm going to pull this directly across from that stake, pull it tight like this, and then let it snap back. And then I'm going to drive the stake in there. From the third stake that we just put in, we're going to go ahead, find that middle seam, and then the second seam here. And that is also going to help us build our long side of the rectangle. Go ahead and just set this up so you have a nice rectangle here. Now that you have the rectangle set up, it's time to take your carbon fiber pole and insert it into the shelter. So we're going to go again to our zipper door here. We're just going to open this guy up. Now I recommend starting with the adjuster of your pole set to its lowest point. From here, we're going to go ahead and keep our adjuster on the bottom, take our top piece, and we're going to find the cone here up at the top. This is the cone. It's marked with the Seek Outside logo. Insert your pole into the cone. Now put that pole up, like so. Now we want to get the shelter fairly tight here. So I like to lift it with one arm and just take my adjuster and get it to a nice tight setup. Once you have your pole to your desired height, go ahead and close your zipper door up so that we can start installing the rest of the stakes. So at this point, once you have your zipper door closed, you can go ahead and look at all of your seams here on these four corners, and you can see that they're pretty straight. You want that shape of the rectangle. If you have one that's overly saggy, you may want to adjust that before you start staking out the rest of the shelter. Another thing to note is if your seam has some witch hatting, that means that your shelter is set up too wide and needs to be brought in a few inches, as well as the pole clicked up. Now, if you go to set up your doors, which is the next setup, and you pull them out and you have a ton of sag in between the panels, that means your shelter is set up too narrow and needs to be brought out a few inches and the pole lessened in height. Your next places where you're going to put stakes is going to be at your zippered doors. So if you have a Redcliff Lite, it's going to be just the seam directly behind the zippered door. In this case, we're working with a Redcliff Standard, which has two zippered doors. Go ahead and take your stake and just stake out this door like so, and do the same for the other side. On the Redcliff Standard, as a quick tip, you can go ahead and take these big stakeout loops if you're using our smaller stakes and just do one simple twist if you're in higher wind conditions when you go to stake it out. And that's going to keep your stake point on your stake a little bit better. So the next point to set up after you've got your doors out is go to the short side of your rectangle over here, and you pull this guy out directly in between the two stakes that we set up on the short side. You can pull this guy out quite a bit. It's designed to give a lot more room into the shelter, like so. And do that for the other side as well. Again, this seam is really designed to be pulled out nice and hard, so you can pull that guy out, stake it down like so, and that's going to give you quite a bit extra room on the short side of the rectangle. Now that we have most of our stakes set up, there's 4 stake points left to do, and that's going to be on our zipper door side, so the long side of the rectangle, and it's just these guys to the left and the right of the zipper door. Pull these out like so, strap your stake in, and do that on both sides of the shelter. Now that our Redcliff is set up, at least all the stake points are, I like to go back inside the shelter, just opening this zipper door here. And I like to try and click the pole up, an additional click if I can. That's really going to tighten the rest of the shelter. You can get it quite tight, so I just pull this out, do another click, and then move it to the center of the shelter. And that really just makes sure all your seams are nice and tight. The Redcliff 2.0 features 12 guy out points, so this thing can be guyed out a ton, and we do recommend it in a few spots to not only get more room, but prevent sag, as well as increase storm stability. So one of my favorite ones to do is this guy over here on the short side of our triangle. This is designed to give you a ton of room here. So I like to just simply thread through there, do just a simple slip knot with a nice little tag end. I'll come over, have maybe 6 or 7 feet. This is a little bit long here, but that'll do. Tie myself a permanent loop at the end, grab my stake, and then I'm gonna pull this out. Now, this seam is really designed to be tugged on. You see how much room that creates in there, as well as stability for the shelter. So pull on that pretty decently, and just go ahead and drive that stake into the ground like so. And that's gonna increase, just that guy out point alone on both sides, it's gonna increase a lot of headroom in the shelter. One thing to note is above all the normal stake out points, you're gonna find these guy out points. These are identified with this triangle and this small loop here. If we look below, we'll find that there's this. This is not a guy out point. This little guy is not reinforced, therefore it is just for tying back the door. So if you want to guy out, always use these triangular guy out points. I'm going to just guy this one out as an example to show you how much more space and stability your shelter can benefit from when guying out. Another easy to use feature you'll find on your Redcliff is when you open your zipper door here, is the door tie back system. What you'll find on the inside of the shelter is this toggle. This toggle correlates with this outside loop. So you can simply just roll your door and run that toggle through the loop, and that's gonna hold your door back pretty easily. Another feature you're gonna find on your Redcliff, either your Redcliff Lite or your Redcliff Standard, is going to be a stove jack. On the Redcliff Lite, it will be in a slightly different location, but this guy allows you to run a stove and simply just Velcros up when you're using a stove, and then Velcros down when not in use. Another feature of the Redcliff is this vent system here. I like to leave it open most of the time, but if you do want to close it, we do have a moldable wire inside that you can simply just use to close up that vent. And then if you want to reopen it, you just take this wire and shape it up exactly how you want it to be. This has been how to set up the Redcliff 2.0. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. This also does work for standard Redcliff as well, but this is just more geared towards all the new features that the Redcliff 2.0 has. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching and have a great day.